The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the member who's just resumed his speech, here is a number about students. 4,600 is approximately the number of places that have been denied this academic year to our universities by a government that, without proper consultation with students or parents, raised the bar for university entrance from NCA 2 to NCA 3, and furthermore tightened the prerequisites in a number of ways that have left universities like Waikato and others gasping because they were not consulted, they did not have input, and what we've seen now is a gross overreaction by the government. This party believes in high standards, but it also believes that tertiary education is a must-have for all New Zealanders who are able and willing to access it. It is crucial for our economy, it is crucial to building a positive future for New Zealand, and it is absolutely crucial to ensure that every Kiwi kid, the kid of a doctor, the kid of a driver, can grow up to be the best that they can be. Mr Speaker, this is also, I think, my first contribution since the summer break. I'd like to congratulate you on your nuptials and also your role in the chair, sir. I'd like to say that it's been a great summer for New Zealanders, or most New Zealanders, while we recognise those who've been doing it tough. Great weather, tough for the farmers, and great now that we're back at work. We do so with a heavy heart today. We acknowledge the passing of Api Mahuika, the rangatira of Ngāti Porou, Runanga, who has made a marked contribution to the progress of that iwi and who's been a tremendous kaitiaki for his rohe and his people. I always enjoyed Uncle Api's company. He was a hard doer, never shy about saying what his iwi needed, but always honourable and always a great participant. So we remember him and his whānau today. I also wish to join with other colleagues in acknowledging the passing today of Celia Lashley, the famous author, amongst other things, of a book about enabling gorgeous boys to become great young men. And as a dad of two gorgeous boys, Celia, thank you for your contribution, and we mourn your passing and we sit with your whānau today as well. Mr Speaker, there's something of a paradox in this Social Security Amendment Bill number 3 being brought to the House in one of the first weeks of the sitting session this year. Here's a government that in its opening address and reply debate has been full of sound and fury. Now we see the legislative program, we realise indeed, as Shakespeare would say, it signifies nothing. Because this top priority bill, and it's frankly a pretty trivial little bill which just takes out two minor loopholes in the social security legislation, one on ACC and the other on student allowances, which I'll comment on shortly, really is just a tidy-up housekeeping piece of legislation. And what it really tells New Zealanders, this government's run out of ideas. They are so beset with shambles. The shambles of Sky City, remember that too good to be true conference centre that wasn't going to cost anybody a penny and was going to employ 10,000 builders all over Auckland. Mr Speaker, they won't need social security because the government was going to have them building casinos, Mr Speaker. But now, of course, we find out that that was all a chimera. The government rolled the dice and came up short. And if it weren't for the pressure from the opposition and the thousands of New Zealanders who petitioned on that matter, the government would have sold us out by another $140 million odd. And then, of course, there's the cover-up on Mike Sabin and the Great State House sell-off. What a terrible crisis affecting so many years. Come back to the bill.
The member's now gone for nearly half a speech and we get through the introduction and on to the bill.
Mr Speaker, may I turn to the part of the bill which seeks to close a loophole that allows students to claim the WINS accommodation supplement instead of the student allowances in instances where it is more generous. Sir, I'd like to join with my colleague Sue Moroney in saying that it's very hard to blame students for taking advantage of the law as it currently stands. That's because student allowance rates have barely increased while the prices of rental accommodation has skyrocketed, particularly in Auckland and in Christchurch. Students have seen course fees raised consistently by the maximum 4% per annum, and they've also had to absorb a hike in GST. Student loans have been cut for part-time students, and of course the eligibility for student loans has been capped to exclude postgraduate students completing their degrees. Student loan repayment rates minimum have been increased by 20%. A new $40 annual student loan fee has been tacked on. And all of that, sir, goes to show one thing, that this government is out of touch with the reality faced by most New Zealand students today. Students are having to borrow more, sweat more, spend more time away from their studies. And they're doing it, sir, because this government's making it tougher. And this bill doesn't help. Instead of legislation which could have undertaken the kind of review that the Labour opposition has promised students for a ground-up review of student allowances, this government is fiddling while Rome burns. Fiddling while Rome burns. And as I say, what they should be talking about is their mishandling of measures which have seen 4,500 students excluded from our universities this year by their bungled implementation of the shift to NCEA 3. So that's section 61EA of the Act. And sir, I must say I have very mixed feelings about that part of it, and that's going to be something that we will cover when in government in our ground-up review of student allowances and budgets. The rest of it, sir, amends section 71 of the Principal Act to allow work and income to backdate benefit payments to applications who previously received ACC from an accredited employer as well as from ACC itself. This, sir, we do support because it harmonises the way that ACC recipients are treated, whether they apply directly to the corporation or through their employers. That makes sense, sir, and we're not going to oppose the bill, notwithstanding the reservations we have on the student component, because frankly these kind of tidy-ups are things that should happen routinely. But New Zealanders are going to be very well aware that in this, the second sitting week of the House, the government's come up empty-handed. The government's so beset with shambles of its own making, so embarrassed about the Prime Minister pirouetting on the head of a pin with every statement he makes looking slipperier and slipperier in the eyes of New Zealanders. Beset with shambles on Sky City, the Sabin affair, the State House sell-off, and a general malaise that sees members opposite studying their shoelaces instead of concentrating on the issues that matter to New Zealanders. Sir, this legislation is sad because it's a government that's out of ideas, a government that's stopped caring, a government that's got way too used to the baubles of office, and one which has entered in very flaccid style its third and final term.
Matt Ducey.
Thank you, Mr.